So, hi, good evening. My name is Julien Chaintreau. I am the newly appointed footwear designer and head of outdoor at UYN. So, we're here tonight with three really interesting guests with different backgrounds that I'll let them introduce themselves shortly after. So, the intention was to gather different minds from different backgrounds and to reflect on the theme, the thematic of design and innovation in the sportswear industry. So yeah, I guess we'll be together for the next hour, pretty much, and feel free to formulate questions afterwards. Of course, if you have anything to ask them, I really would like to highlight that this is an open conversation between us, but also including you, of course. And yeah, I guess I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves, and then we'll proceed to the Q&A. So if you guys would propose like a bit of your background for in couple sentences and why you came up to your practice today. So whoever wants to start first, maybe Rob on my right. You seem to be heated up already.
Hello? Can
Yeah,
anyone
go for
hear me? Everyone hear me? Sorry, I do apologize. I got a cold at the moment, so my voice is a bit crackly then. It is where it is. But I'm a sportswear designer from London, predominantly working within technical apparel, but I also dabble in art direction as well. So nice to meet you all.
Vito Loverre, and I founded HOC Lab Tech in 2017, and we are a fully integrated consultancy for footwear, and then we take care of complete projects and then new strategies for brands from the concept creation until development and production that we could do inside our office.
Hey everyone, I'm Gozzillah. I'm a graphic designer working in the VFX industry and also a hardcore climber and trail runner. And I just figure out how to merge my passion together in my life and in my work, and just created this account Godzilla 2 years ago. Yeah. That's all.
Nice. So, as you can hear, everybody's really creative in their respective fields. I would like you to interact in different ways in how you approach your creative process. I would like to understand, and for everyone to understand how you apprehend this creative process. What is really the base of all of that? So your core interest in the way that you can really feel motivated every day to come to that creative stage. So maybe should I ask you first, like how did you come up to being creative in this sense? And today, like for example, you, Godzillah, what is pushing you today to be able to create the content that we really love, the very singular way you're doing it? What is your daily motivation for that, and what are the cues to arrive to such an extent?
Yeah. For me, the only way to do what I do is to do it with passion, and it's really connected to the activities I do outdoors and the routine I can do in my outdoors activities. And it's really part of the creative process, since we talk about technical garments and the functionality of the garments. And I love in the first place, I love to use them, and then it becomes something that could how to say, something creative could happen after. But yeah, in the first place, I love to do my stuff in the forest, in the mountains, and everything that connects me to the nature is something that inspires me in my designer approach or creative approach.
Right. For you, Vito, which your studio, Hawk Lab Tech, which you share with your partner, Raffaele.
Yeah.
again, in this sense, like, tell us about your journey, how you came up to it, understanding why did you go to footwear specifically rather than any other field, and in which sense also this part of innovation is really fueling your work. What is your interest behind that, or why are you constantly actually looking for this and not for maybe being more into fashion, or what is your take on this?
So, yeah, for me it was like I studied industrial design, and then my background is in that, and then after a while, like, was really driving by the passion of footwear. So I was always collecting footwear and understanding how footwear was made. So like in 2005, 2010, like presentation product was not available at the scale that is now. So it's like I basically watched all the YouTube video how Nike, Adidas, and so on, they were presenting the shoes, they were talking about the shoes and what was the technology behind that, plus the design, the industrial design background. I said like, okay, this is could be my thing from now on. So from there is like right now that passion, that drive for understanding how the envelope get pushed is still at the HOC Lab Tech, and then we transform it in a special project for clients where we take care of the initial research, how the initial research is done, why we need to have this product in the market without having an impulse of creativity that leads to, I don't know, like a red shoe or something like that. What is the purpose behind that shoe? Why we need another shoe in the market? Why we need to improve the current running shoes that we have right now? So it's like the V1, V2, V3, it's a great thing, it's great, but I don't know if right now they're working for everybody in the market, you know, the interaction every year. Even Apple right now is stopping to do every 12 months a release of the new, yeah. It's just every 12 months. So it's like, I think it's off. So it's like really driving by the research and experimentation, having your hand dirty and really testing the product that you are putting out there.
I think you've covered an interesting point. So maybe we've kind of arrived to a limit of innovation in what you just said, for example, with Apple. Before we maybe jump into this, Rob, also explain a bit your creative process, or how do you, what are the insights in the different cues, which are...
In insights regarding how I got here?
Yeah.
Or insights regarding like how I operate at the moment?
How you operate, and what is like the red thread of you for designing something? Like
I mean, so initially going through school, I've always wanted or desired, you know, the premium level product, whether it be a Nike tracksuit with the ventilation system or a North Face with the Gore-Tex Pro as opposed to a high vent, for example, which led me into the design realm. And how do I do this for myself, and how do I take this into my own practice, which took me to London, where I studied sportswear design. And from there, working with performance brands like Moncler, Soar Running, and I guess some consultation with places like Satisfy, led me to just be more meticulous about where my desire for acquiring products started and how my process within design and how I can output that in an industry format ends or continues, should we say.
So I guess that for both of you, all of you, like, passion is really the motivator, I would say. At least that I think that we can really highlight this. And then now there's this innovation component. What are the component, like what are the different elements for you that should define innovation, or how do you consider something to be more innovative than something else? I think you were, like, for example, describing different textile brands or different suppliers. What for you is a true innovation rather than something which has been more marketed, or something which you're really looking forward for in terms of footwear or visual inspirations or apparel for you, Rob? Maybe Hugo, for example.
I guess maybe I'm not the best example of it, but yeah, I could say I could say if you try to innovate, you're gonna struggle, and it's always the function that lead the innovation, and it's just about the functionality and how you want to push it at its finest level, and how you can take advantage of the materials, of the different fabrics together to do a really relevant product. And yeah, that's maybe my vision of innovation. But for me, the important thing is that the product could just match its function actually. And if you just use some new materials and dig into new technologies, and it's probably gonna be a success.
So there's the production of new technologies, and there's the use of it, right? The use case.
Yeah.
How the design is transcribing the.
Yeah. I mean, innovation is really depending on the patent that the different engineer do on a regular basis during the year. And if you want to innovate, you want to be really curious about what's happening in other fields, like we said yesterday. If you want to be innovative, you need to be really aware of what's happening in the other fields around you.
Right. Vito?
Yeah, I share that with Hugo for sure. Like there are maybe three elements of innovation, which is like functionality is definitely a big thing, and then like the material as well. They are like a very big argument, and WYN is already progressing in that. And then for sure as well, like how you manufacture product could be like another of my third preferred areas. So functionality is there. It's like everybody needs to feel comfortable when they use something, especially if they have like the V3 or V4, etc. It needs to feel better of the previous version at the end, because for the iPhone, for the MacBook, it is. So like you're running, and then you have maybe sometimes a lot of runners, they go into the brand's franchise. For franchise is like the name of the shoes, and then they do like one every year. So it's like you go into there, and then you test the new product that arrives in the mail of the morning. You want to test it out in the evening, and you say, oh shit, it's just like the V1 was better. The previous version was better. And then the material.
Right. No, continue.
And then the materials as well, like how you can create a lighter weight materials. If you're talking about performance, it's lightweight materials. How those they can dry faster, they can keep you warmer, etc. There is all an element. How you craft those materials, how you make those materials. And then the manufacturing of the footwear is another big thing that right now only On is looking at with the light spray. And I'm really passionate about that, because is in 2012 when Nike released the Flyknit technology. For me, it was like the final drop to say, okay, as usual, I was on YouTube. I was watching the presentation of that is still on. I invite everybody to look it up. And it was like, I want to be that guy that presents this technology. And then right now, after 12 years, only On worked on something that could change the perception of the technology in footwear and how actually we can make footwear better.
How could you explain this huge gap between those two technologies? Like, how could you explain that nothing, because I also share your opinion myself, nothing really relevant or to that extent has happened in the meantime? You think it's because brands or actors of the market have been looking at each other way too long, or is it just that it takes that amount of time to arrive to such a such a breakthrough?
I think because I visit some of those brands, they already have the technology there. It's just they don't know how to scale to their level, and then how actually they can start using this technology. So it's like we've been talking about like the Adidas the Loop project. It's like, where is this project? It's like, again, was like just a project created to be authentic and be like aligned with the situation and trends in the market. It was to 2022, 2021, etc. 500 influencers, they got the shoe. Where are all the rest? It's like no, there is no production of that at the moment. So it's like they have it, but like they still want to make sure that when they release it could be active. And on is like they said like, okay guys, we have this, we're gonna do it, and then they just release it, whatever it is. Took them 7 years to develop that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just.
I was in the team back then,
Yeah.
knowing these guys, so I can relate. And you, Rob, like, in which sense do you relate to also these innovations? Do you prefer to not to disregard them, to actually not really care about them and just wait on someone to provide them to you, or is it something that you actually try to apply to yourself?
No, I care.
Yeah.
For sure. I think innovation in itself, as a phrase, can be now translated as a conversation or even collaboration. Let's say we're working with Cohesive or a trim supplier for a cord lock, and it's made from a crude oil TPU component. How do we make this, biotech?
Mm-hmm.
How does this become, green to a certain extent? We're not there yet. Let's not jump the gun.
Yeah. So
it's often a back and forth between the supplier and the designer or the design team or the design development team, and I think that's where it's important to have the skills and logistics within said team to be able to discuss between both manufacturer and design as to how we end up with something that's innovative. Back to your initial question.
So innovation from the maybe more scientific and chemical point of view, if we talk about technologies. What about innovation by design, which for me also makes lots of sense? For example, I guess like this workshop today also is a proof of that. What, in which sense do you see this as a benefit for the future? Maybe just disregarding again a little bit of all of those new technologies we've been really fed with, and trying to really more think about the physical, the material side of things.
Again, so we can lean on WYN for this. Their push with biotech, biofabrics, it's an example to all industry leaders as to where things should be going and how things should be curated to a certain standpoint and designed within a said degree. But this is leading on to a wider point, and I think the marketing isn't quite there, and how we speak to said consumer and how we sell that product to the consumer is something that we really need to hold prevalent. But we can get onto that maybe if we have time.
Mm-hmm. So again, like in these answers, I think that there's a strong component both between design and innovation, but I think they all relate, I would say today, to sustainability. Do you all believe that these innovations can push for more sustainable products or are actually an answer for the climate crisis we have, or you think it's just maybe a shadow or something which is actually not really the truth in a way, like more like as a greenwashing or something which is really not deviating from the proper route? Maybe you go.
Yeah, if I could jump also on the on the creative process, because you can be innovative in the technology, you can be innovative in the craftsmanship, in tons of things, but also the creative process could be changed by innovation. I could tell that the footwear designer back in the days didn't even know what 3D was, and nowadays it's something really totally casual, and it's the opposite. They don't even know the clay modeling or the all those traditional approach and traditional process. And the innovation could also be something in the creative process for sure.
Sure. I think today is a great example of that.
This is related to your workshop, man.
Sure.
Yeah.
So also like hailing back to creativity, I had this prepared question, at least a bit less than freestyle. All of you are consulting for different brands throughout time. I guess you've had different requests for different projects with different semantics. How is this way of working tainting your personal perspective or your personal work? How is it that working for one or another brand is going to then define, or in which sense do you see this defining your own ethics of working or your own personality, your own character in this? Maybe Vito?
I think you have, being a consultant, you have the ability to wear different hats, and each company, at least for us, like they call you for a very specific project, and then they are like very long-term projects that you could work on. And then with those long-term projects, you really are becoming a friend and part of the brand. But then you need to keep your personality as detached from the brand, because like tomorrow everything could change, but also like the elements that they are making this brand great, they also can relate with how you work, but then also sometimes they just like a brand in 3 years, 4 years that you are consulting for could take like some different path, and those paths they become like very different from where you want to go. This happened, for example, when everybody was getting into the green and greenwashing. It's like, yes, but why we need to do this? But like, even we've seen product where they had like 10% pet in them, like rebranded as pet content that was like very higher and all of that. Is like, I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to be part of that because it's like, we could just say that has like 10, 20% of pet recycle in there, and then we don't need to just like lie or all of that. And like, you need to be very honest with yourself and what you want to do. And if a brand or a client gets tricky, just like leave them within the contract. It's what we do, and it's just like, sometimes it's tough. Like sometimes you need to look around for other clients, but you need to be true and progress in yourself and in your company and in everything that you do. At least this is our approach.
Rob?
I might need you to go back to the question.
To the question itself.
But just, I can say a few things. I think within my practice, I'm 50-50. So a lot of the time I'm picking up other brands, progressive design language, and trying to implement my eye and sophistication to said project. And other times I'm given full reign, or free reign, should we say. And it's when a smaller company, more often than not, has contacted me and they genuinely just want my perspective and what I can bring to the table. Often that comes with links to factories that I know and mold suppliers and so on and so forth. So it does get a little complicated, but I do enjoy those projects where I get to fulfill um, my own language and design ideas to the fullest. But they may not necessarily be the ones that pay the best. So we have to take on the 50-50 projects too and work around them.
One fits the other, basically.
Exactly.
Always.
Hugo?
Yeah, I could say that, for me the red line is really the authenticity. I always work only with brands that really align with my vision. It's still something that guarantee to be honest and authentic, and but at some point, you just need to be authentic, and marketing department tend to corrupt you, to corrupt yourself, to just they try to bring you to their vision, and I don't think it's really it's a really good thing. And yeah, for me, it's if you try several times to corrupt my vision, it's a red flag, and I don't want to work for you anymore. Yeah, I mean, if you come to my place, this is if you want to taste my soup. I mean, you're gonna let me cook it gently.
I hope I end up in that position at some point.
The metaphor is just great, for sure. Tell us a bit more about your work, Hugo. Godzilla, sorry. How did you come up to this page you have today? I think we've already asked the question yesterday, but we have a different crowd today. Because of course it's super interesting, especially for me, which head of outdoor, like I'm still really related to your content. How did you come up to this? And I'll ask the question later again, but like, what's your perspective on the state of fashion, the state of outdoor fashion almost, coming from you as this core person that had this embedded in your identity from way before all of this happened?
Yeah, for sure. It's for me, everything is connected to the activities, and I just wanted to bring my skills in styling and how to build strong visual, how to build strong styles, strong outfits, and it's just I could say that why just trying to get the nice stuff that are also functional, because I saw a lot of stuff that are super functional, but there was a lack of style, a lack of aesthetic things, and for me it's just about to bring the style into the technical and functional apparels and footwear. Yeah.
Right. And today, so I guess we were left with also this gorpcore, or like at least outdoor fashion that I guess we'll also be linking in the future with Win. Vito, what's your understanding of this whole shift from like very two different segments that have merged nowadays, to the extent of like having high fashion brands which are also trying to, I would say, on the one hand steal, but also borrow from that world and vice versa. Linking back to design and innovation again, do you feel that this can be, using your word, like corrupting one or the other field, or could you give us like your perspective on this?
Sometimes it doesn't feel very authentic, because it's back to what Rob was saying before. It's like sometimes they use the design language of another brand to interpret it and rechange and release a new collection that just has like a different branding. So if the luxury world is approaching sportwear more and more, and recent research are saying that, because sportwear was a research of Business of Fashion that sportwear will grow like about 50% in 2025. So like, okay, we have Loro Piana, we have Zegna, We have Hermes, they're approaching even harder in the sportwear, but it's like they need to have their own language, so it needs to be a luxury sportwear in the sense. And then how that language could be created, it's up to them. We might have some ideas, I don't know, but depends on them. As far as authentic, and they did just copy Nike from a Gyatso collaboration or Nike from 95, 2000, and all of that. They could have like a nice percentage. Same thing for brands. It's like right now for the big brands, Nike, Adidas, all of that. It's like sometimes they need to stay on their own vision and releasing more innovative product instead of just adding their logo in like an average design. That's my point.
So you have players or like initial players which are not part of a certain field, and then you have sustainability. Do you see a bit of a friction in this?
That's the final cycle of the washing machine. You know, it's just like, okay, how we change everything now, and then like fibers, they're very important. Yarns are very important. How you manufacture things, go back to that. It's very important. But it's like sometimes the chemical companies are not there yet. So it's almost like what we're seeing with the 3D printing in the footwear is like until we have one company that creates the final file, the final PDF that is unified for everybody, because the PDF is like, you know, you could have like a book in the PDF, you can have like a shoe in the PDF, everything, until like a chemical company or like somebody comes on and creates that final PDF that can be used in any field, then, you know, like then we're still looking up for something to happen in that area.
Still, the field is quite something nowadays.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's just.
They're just signed with Nike as well.
Yeah, also I saw this. They start with Moncler maybe 1 year ago.
Yeah, for sure. They're interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Rob, what about you? Are you getting close to this outdoors department, outdoor fashion thing, or are you, I feel, maybe getting out of it a bit? And how, if you're an outsider, what's your take on this?
I mean, I'm head to toe in cotton right now, so I was involved maybe in like 2019, 2020. I was into that core aesthetic, should we say. And I was even designing within that aesthetic for certain brands that are bringing projects out at the moment, collaborations as well. I won't name them, but if you know who I work with, then you can probably find it online somewhere. But I think something slightly more interesting is the way in which high fashion, or at least slightly more experimental brands, certainly based out in Korea, PAF, for example, we've got them on foot here across the stage. The way they've aligned themselves with apparel is clean and it stays true to their aesthetic and design language, but they've also recognized that they need to use durable and multifaceted materials to develop, you know, functional garments, and they've done that through a collaboration with On Running here, and it's a testament to themselves, because I think as far as examples go, it's as good as it gets at the minute.
Right. And
without being biased, I'm not working with them either, so
you mentioned those like smaller brands that you would work with in the past. I guess there is like a big expansion of all of these smaller niche. I mean, Satisfy is not new, but still now really expanding. Norda, I could also see you're on your foot.
I've never worked with Norda.
No, but I see Hugo having one.
Yeah. Although I did introduce them to a brand called Soar. So
Soar, yeah.
Maybe I did work with them.
Which Soar as well is a niche brand still, right?
Super. Right.
And thinking about my work when I'm referencing stuff nowadays, I'm lacking information or like references from bigger brands, which used to be, as you said, Vito, before, like the big players, Nike or Adidas or whoever with their respective patents. Jacuzzo, for example, kind of like the jacket that you have. And now I end up just like really researching on these new, super unknown, super savvy labels. What do you think about this? Do you think that we've arrived to an extent where bigger brands have attained their limits in terms of marketing, in terms of their discourse or the emphasis of their work, or do you think that it's just a trend which is going on, which it's gonna go back to the original state of like 5 big players, which are?
No. It's impossible to go back, and then right now we have. It's a matter of community, and we're seeing the challenger brand, how they call it, that they are, for example, in running, they are Bandit, they are So Running, they are Rabbit. Like every 5 seconds, there is a new brand that can correlate and then has like a new audience in their own city. Whereas, for example, Bandit is very strong in New York, So Running is very strong in the UK, and you cannot take them out of their community. It's like they organize runs. It's like it's very strong. And then like if you ask, especially for the type of product they make, all of them sometimes they are based and produced in Europe, which is already like a big thing. And the customer right now, the average runner, is looking at those labels right now. So there is no going back because like the Nike product feels Nike or other products, they feel inferior and they cannot really make your performance better. So those community are very strong. Talking about Satisfy as well, it's impossible. It's really impossible to go back and use an average short from one of those big brands. So right now, the challenger brand are accounting for more than 50% of total sportswear, and that right now is being used, at least in running. At least those are numbers that I know in running. And yeah, it's just like will be very difficult for a customer to go back.
Hugo, as well for you in your work, I guess you're also looking for these very sought after, very small labels, which were super difficult to
sure.
find.
I'm always curious to find new things, new brands, and the only important thing is the relevancy and the functionality for me. It's not interesting. It's if it doesn't change a bit the game, and that's why outsiders and challengers are made for. It's also to pull everybody up and also challenge the big corporations.
Is it the premises maybe of a new change of play, you think? Maybe Rob?
I don't know if I can speak on a change of play right now, but on the subject of, I guess, niche brands, I do spend time at least once a week working with underground alley cat brands, NSLB, for example, based in London, 99 JMS, based in London. I doubt anyone will even know who they are yet. They will. They're coming up. But I think the way they've grasped marketing in a guerrilla style and built communities surrounding their brands and grown, strong followings in the space of less than 4 months is incredible. Hence why I'm spending time with these people and understanding how it is that they engage with their consumers. It's something that I think these massive companies aren't doing. Nike, Adidas, Puma, whoever, name it. And I think, back to your point, which I can't even remember what it was, but
the niche taking over.
Niche marketing it needs to be grasped in a different way. And I think there's a few companies in London that are doing it. UVU is a good example. They've made it out of the mud. They're in a space now where they can command their own respect. But there's a few other people that are following them that are really, really, really exciting to watch. And I think bigger brands should be taking note on how they're engaging with their consumer, because the units they're pumping out is ridiculous, especially for a team of 3 to 6 people. Whereas, we're talking about brands that employ thousands and thousands of people just in Portland, let alone global. So,
Would you see like other sports? Because we were mostly speaking about running, climbing, trail running. Do you see any other sports that can maybe...
Sorry, I actually sounded like I was gunning for Nike, then I actually wasn't doing that. Should just apologize.
Easy. No, like, yeah, my maybe ultimate question would be, since now we're like, yeah, still in this outdoor, what would be in your perspective, the next sport or this next practice that we would all be, like craving for, or at least being inspired by? Is it still going to be about the outdoors? There's, of course, this big idea of like reconnecting with nature, which is extremely important for all of us, citizens mostly, especially here. But like, is it still going to be that in your perspective, or do you see it going more towards collective sports? Because we're talking about mostly about individual sports worked like connected with communities. Is it going to go back maybe or would you see it this way into more collective practices? Like, I used to play basketball, so could it go back to this kind of more like often practices, or what do you see, or how would you like it to also perhaps like just in a ideal world become?
Yeah, I think the social change really changed the game about this, and the way we can see individual sports or practice and a collective one. A good example is something that happened with climbing community. Normally you climb with maybe 1 or 2 people. It's really an individual activity. But nowadays with all the community thing, you can, if you want, make the experience collective. And this is great because it could be sometimes a bit tricky to keep the patient if you are alone, and yeah, I mean the perception between individual and collective in those areas are really changing.
Vito, Rob?
Just quickly, I think community, just the word community is such a powerful entity in our industry right now, because I was even having a conversation yesterday with a colleague of mine, and even down to yoga, the community you can try to acquire within said practice, and what you can achieve from that within a wellness mind state will encourage people to buy and purchase products, and these all lead into like marketing results. And depending on how you target those marketing results is how you implement, bio-design or eclectic taste levels and so on and so forth, But community is where things, I feel, are heading, or at least resurfacing.
Totally agree, I think.
And even if running is an individual sport, I'm not talking about running just because I practice running, but like the community makes running not an individual sport anymore. It's kind of like you always find like a running buddy, running like 2-3 guys, because then you can run better on together. But other sport is like all the sport that they have a functionality aspect, then I think they could be driving the next aesthetic and next functionality for like hybrid clothes.
Nice. I think we've covered quite a bit. If any of you have any questions or any remarks, it's, I guess, maybe the time for you to ask. So does anyone has a question towards us or towards them? Anything that comes to your mind? Yes. Tidar.
Hey, maybe a question to all of you. So I feel like we are always looking for these brands to come up with this new good design or good technology. Maybe On was the last one to do it. My question to you guys is like, what would you like to see, let's say, in the next 2 years in the fashion performance footwear industry? Yeah. Like what you would really be excited to see?
I could say the bacteria thing, the way they build bacteria, they build shoes with bacteria is super exciting and something crazy because actually this thing is alive. This is maybe the first living design, and this is really exciting for me, my personal point of view.
To me, it goes back to what you just said, is the manufacturing of it. Because we have On that is pushing and inventing a new way of manufacturing shoes, but what else could be done? What else could be done without a robot arm? What else could be done in a bigger scale where everybody can buy a shoe made in a newer way without wasting resources and going to a third developing country to make the shoe? That's a big one.
I think I'd like to see development within the accessories world. So whether that's like bioanatomy within glove design or framework for running sunglasses using biotechnology, things like this, I think should be more prevalent. I know for a fact you can grow around a skeletal structure using a certain technology. It's just how that comes to life and how that becomes achievable for a acquirable price point. So I'd like to see something happen in that circle.
Do you want me to answer to your question as well? I'm not supposed to do so, but I also have some interesting takes on that. I think I'm kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum myself. That I think we've arrived, if we reuse the example of Vito, to this kind of set level of innovation. I think the word is just a luggage word today that, of course, has lots of substance, but is losing a bit of it. So I like to look at this whole thing from the opposite side and try to, at the image of this workshop today, go back to very hands-on and very crafted solutions. I really don't believe in like always adding layers, especially when the marketing is involved. But for me, it's just about like the passion, but also the truth, or like the process itself, but not the process given by a machine, the human process behind that. Because at the end of it, it's like, especially for footwear, for me, it's people which are wearing it, it's people making it, it's people thinking about it, and we're completely lacking this. So for me, the answer would never be AI, for example, or at least not at the end of it, but would be really like trying to understand or to go back to those forgotten practices of cobbler making, shoe making, especially in Italy. Like the substance of this is insane. Like the industrial craftsmanship of footwear is for sure the greatest in Europe, at least, and still leading also in the rest of the world. So if it's just for this example, for me, yeah, it's about going back to like smart but very simple, or maybe complex, but going back to simplicity to enable the consumers to understand what's happening in the product they're doing, the product they're purchasing. And for me, yeah, this is, at least a perspective on innovation. Of course, in my position today, it's going to be trying to challenge both ends. I think it's still important to also bring this innovation and this very important act of sustainability. So bio-based and also biodegradable is the utmost is the urgency, I would say. But I think that we can also answer these questions from a very more human and very more hands-on perspective. Yeah. Any other question? Yes.
You talked about the involvement of communities in the design process, and I don't want to be provocative, but I just want to ask how much the user needs and user requests and demands and the community's demands sets the goal for designers, and how much it is just to make the next cool thing. Because we spoke about Norda, we spoke about Puff and On, and I can see the improvement, I can see the next steps in designs, but most of the times that kind of product is catered to an audience that is maybe not running in them, not using them for their purpose. So how much it is to do something useful next or just something super cool?
I think it has to do with the size of the brand. So On and Puff, for example, yes, you could run in them, but potentially you don't want to run in them. So it's like, but if we go like in smaller brands where they can really be close with the community, so for example, I don't know, Satisfy, So Running, Bandit, etc. They are brands that they are maybe 40, 50 people, even less sometimes, and they do actively community runs where everybody can talk with the designer that is designing the next kit that we'll wear in the marathon. And that's, I think, the size of the brand is a big thing, because then when the brand gets bigger, then you are far away from your customer.
I could say we can combine cool thing and functional thing, and if some people are into those nice technical thing, Vibram or I don't know, and just to go in town, for me it's not really a problem, because eventually it's gonna lead them to go into the trails and the mountain, and I don't see a split line between be cool and be into a nice activity like running or climbing. I think we can get both. This is my point of view, but I'm really into this idea to bring the cool thing into the functional apparel, and also it could be relevant for the opposite too. But I get your point with the marketing departments that try hard to just that try to get more and more people wearing their product. But I could say it's not totally it's not totally incompatible. It's something that could happen, and not every time, but it happens actually.
I think for me it's the question of the use case, what you're trying to highlight. I think we, as designers, try to give the best in terms of how we engineer something or how we conceive a product. Then the problematic is that we have to adapt to an audience that has been tainted by other brands around us, which are also very ferocious, I would say, in this sense. So, and I understand the point. Like, where's the functionality in a white shoe, which is meant to be gone for trail running? And this is the ultimate question. So, which I'm also trying to answer myself. And like, since I'm also applying these colorways for certain shoes, like, where is the point? So, very relevant questions. I think it's a common responsibility that we have, of course, as brands, and also like as consumers, to maybe not use this shoe or this product in the environment which is needed. It's of course none of our business what you're doing with these products, of course. Again, it's about authenticity at the end, and understanding what are the basis of functionality. I think the word functionality again is a bit like innovation today. It has many different meanings, but especially in the urban environment, there is no need of functionality as long as your jacket is holding on for the rain. Unless you're living in England, maybe you're not gonna really have like many issues. So yeah, for me there is like way too many innovation in products which are really not needed, and this is for me the biggest problem that I see, that I'm really trying to fight against, which is not easy because you have some suppliers and different also labels to put on a product to be validated by the market. This is maybe also the truth, is that you have an audience that wants to see this Gore-Tex thing. If it's not Gore-Tex, it's not going to be bought, or Vibram, whatever. So there is a duality, there is a shared responsibility that also we have to take on. It's not easy to move, I think, the conscious, especially when all of this trend has been created recently. Because you're, of course, as a customer, like always in research of liability and these labels, these different marks of reassurance are very important. But I think that today, again, it's kind of like the race towards that. So we have to really be conscious and really, at least on our end, like very define those products much better and try to be more accurate on how we sell them, I think.
There's really not too much more for me to say, but to your point, I think at the moment a lot of projects, in fact, product in general, apparel-wise, and footwear engineering, is just completely over-engineered to the point where the consumer has to spend above and beyond to wear the latest thing or be part of the newest fashion trajectory, or however you want to pitch it, which is why I'm really interested in these community-based projects. And I'm talking much lower level than Alley Cat running that Saw are doing, and Not to Shun Saw, and Satisfy, and other brands like this. That, and again, we're talking about a running community, but you know, we can take this to the calisthenics community, where I know a bunch of guys in West London that are literally punching sleeveless T-shirts out and selling them off the bat quicker than any of these companies we're talking about right now are, with a way lower following but a way higher engagement on social media. And they're probably leveling out within the same profit margins each year. And I think that's all because of, again, community. Back to over-engineering, I think it's just becoming a thing of the past. And I think everything just needs to be more considered, consolidated, and it just needs to be a primary focus at the end of the day. What are we trying to do? Who are we trying to sell it to? And what does this product need to achieve? Simple as that.
Last question, or basta? Thank you so much for attending, all of you. Thanks for the attendance, and feel free to reach out later on if you need. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Grazie mille.